WinCC version 8 tips and tricks number 5, make a toggle button without using a script. In this video we're going to make a toggle button that will allow you to toggle a binary tag, and we're going to animate the button itself to tell the operator what's going to happen if they press it. So right now the pump is on, now the pump is off. And the cool thing about this is we're not going to use any scripts. We're going to use direct connects and a tag connection. So if you're interested, let's get started. So we're going to create a toggle button using the Windows Objects button here. We're not going to use scripts. We're going to use direct connects, and we're going to use a tag connection. And I'm just going to up the font here a little bit. Now, if you've looked in the project library, there are some toggle buttons already here. They do work. But if we take a look at these, this is all C script that makes this happen. And I'm not a big fan of using C scripts if we can get away with using a direct connect, because direct connects get their own thread. We don't have to be on the scripting thread, so we're not going to use these. Now, on this Windows button, there's a couple of properties that we need to look at. One is called Latch Down, and the other is called Pressed. Now, if we take a look at these, you can do F1 or do the what's this, and the help tells you exactly what these properties do. So Latch Down makes this a sticky button. If you press it, it stays pressed until you press it again, then it pops back out. So people refer to these as radio buttons or sticky buttons or whatever. The next thing is this pressed function, and it is just merely a property that tells you whether or not it's pressed. So if you click the button and it's down, then pressed is going to be true, or yes. If it's pressed down and you click it again and it pops out, then pressed is going to go to a no. So the combination of these two properties, if I turn latch down on and then know that we have this property, and I'm just going to kind of go to runtime on this. I'm going to save this page. So here's the button in runtime. I haven't hooked anything up to it yet, but if I click it, then you can see from the animation that it stays pressed. And at this point, the press property is true. And then if I click it again, it pops back out. So we can use these two properties together to easily make a toggle button. First, we're going to need a tag. So I'm going to pull up my tags. I have my structure tags, and I'll just do my pump on tag for my red. So there's my tag. And what we want to do is go to our events. Under property topics, styles, if we look at the pressed event, then we can put an action on there. So if I put a direct connect here, the source is just going to be whether or not this is pressed. So it's either going to be true or false depending on the original state. And what we want to do is we just want to put that into the red pump on tag. That's the tag that we're using. And we'll just click OK. I'm just going to make this bigger so it'll be a little bit easier to see in runtime. Just kind of pop that up. Save this. And go back to runtime. So right now, the button is not pressed, and our value is 0. If I click this, then the pressed property goes to 1. It fires that pressed property event change and takes the new value, which is 1, writes it into the tag, and now it's a 1. And then if I click this again, then the property changes again from 1 to 0. And that is also written into the tag. Now, there is one problem, and that's when the page changes. So right now, the button is pressed in and it's a 1. But if I go back to Graphics Designer and just refresh this page, watch what happens. The button is popped out, but the tag is a 1. So the button needs to know what state it is supposed to be in when the page loads. So if we go back to Graphics Designer on our property, we have to tell this property what to be. And all we have to do is link it back up to the same tag that we're using, which is red pump on. That way, when the page loads, the tag will tell this property initially what to be. So we'll just kind of save that and then go back to runtime. And so now you can see from the animation it is pressed in. And now pressed is a 0, so it's popped out. And anytime we load this page, it's going to be exactly right. So let's take the example a step further and actually put a pump on the screen, animate it, and then I'll show you how we're going to animate the button. So I'll just go into our SVG library and I'll take a look at our pumps, and I'll just pull out this cool pump here. And the trick to these is you have to look in the symbol properties. None of these other properties are really able to be animated. The basic color is usually the color of the pump. So that's the one we want. And I'm just going to throw a quick dynamic dialog up here and look at the red pump on tag. Make it Boolean. If the tag is a 1, then it's going to be red. If it is a 0, it's going to be this color green. And so we can just test that in runtime real quick. So that's off, that's on. Next, what we want to do is animate the button so that it appears the color and text of what's going to happen when you actually press the button. So if the pump is off, we want the button to reflect that pressing the button will turn it on. So we will make it red, and then the text will say turn pump on. If the pump is already on, then the button will appear green and the text will say turn pump off. It's an intuitive interface. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to turn off the global color scheme, and I'm just going to default this to off. And we'll go into our font on the text, and I'm going to show you a trick here. I will do turn, and then I'm going to hit Control Escape. It'll drop down to the next line. Turn pump, and then I'm going to do Control Escape again. So we're going to be animating both the text and the color of this button. So an animation is a good tool to use because it's using the same evaluation, which is just the red pump on tag. I will just add the background color property, and I'll also add the text property. And then we want to evaluate this as a Boolean. And so if the tag is true, then we want to have the reverse. So if the tag is true, the pump is on, it's red. So green, turn pump off. That's already at default. And then if the pump is off, pressing the button should turn it on. So we will choose the appropriate color. And we will just change this to on. And that's really all we have to do. Now if we save this, go into runtime, we have this nice interface. Pump is on, button says turn pump off. I click it. Now the pump is off, button says turn pump on. Nice intuitive interface. I hope you found this useful. Please give me a like and a share, and tell your colleagues who could benefit from these videos about my channel. Thanks.